Hello and welcome to SV's Academy. Over the last 3 weeks, we have covered a portion of 7 C's of communication through illustrative examples of their main features. In this video, we shall look into some other versions of the 7 C's, modified and listed variously by eminent scholars and academicians who have authored books and courses on business communication, marketing, and public relations. This is the comprehensive list of the 7 C's of communication that are applied in business communication in all forms: spoken, written, and visuals. Emails, meetings, conference calls, presentations, report writing, and several other activities at the workplace involving communication with peers, supervisors, and other colleagues need to incorporate these 7 C's of communication. In this video, we shall look mainly into those 7 C's that have not been discussed or illustrated in the last video. Imagine a second-hand computer that has assembled parts, but most of them are not compatible with each other. Do you think the computer will work? Definitely not. Similarly, in communication, if the ideas communicated do not have any connection with each other, the main motive of the message or communication will fall flat. So, coherence is more important in written communication, as anything redundant should be duly edited while proofreading. We have a greater tendency to digress when spoken communication becomes more of a freewheeling conversation. Make sure that there is not much digression during communication, even if it's an impromptu spoken one. In the first example, we can see what an incoherent piece of communication looks like. We fail to understand what is really meant by really, and in what way does it qualify the car and the situation. There is no organic connection of ideas in sentences 1 and 2 with the rest of the paragraph. The sentences are loosely structured because of the lack of use of linkers and cohesive devices. We are not clear how a car breakdown, a birthday party, 8 p.m. and making a phone call could lead to a $200 bill. In the second example, by contrast, we have a specimen of how a coherent communication looks like. The opening lines spell clearly what the paragraph is all about. The first reason is stated to be the inexperience of the managers, and the next 2 lines explain how this factor contributed to the failure of the business venture. The other 2 factors have been enumerated in a similar way. So you can see that there is an organic connection of ideas and style that corroborates it. The key word is to gain the trust of clients and build a rapport with the receivers. You can achieve this when you learn to consider and empathize with the audience. Try to imagine yourself in their shoes. Do not claim that your product is 100% effective. Rather, it could be 99% or so. Remember the disclaimers that are given below and after the advertisement displaying stunts and actions, or say mutual fund investments, or say tobacco and liquor. These validate the credibility and authenticity of products. The audience or buyers or clients or customers of the 21st century with whom you are dealing with, they do not live in a fool's paradise, and they can easily see through your false claims. Remember this, or otherwise the reputation of your organization could be at stake. Context is nothing but the environment or ambience in which communication takes place. You can always understand a message better if you place it in a familiar context of culture and situation. Similarly, most of you would prefer to learn in a well-equipped classroom which constitutes the external context or the environment with proper lights and ventilation, with chairs and tables in a good condition and in minimum noise. Imagine you're a student of class 9 and the teacher who's taking your chemistry class is teaching at the level of graduation. Will the communication in the teaching learning process be successful in this case? Will you be able to comprehend the message or say understand the lesson at this level? Definitely you won't be able to understand what the teacher is teaching because it is beyond your understanding. Or say a teacher of history tries to relate a political event that had taken place years ago in a foreign land and culture to a similar situation prevailing in your culture, state, or nation in the contemporary times with which you're familiar. Won't it make the subject interesting and familiar to you? This is how a content should be styled, in an authentic and relatable manner. Do you remember how difficult it was for the non-tech savvy parents and teachers to adjust to online classes when it was first introduced in March 2020? Because none of them were familiar with the digital mode of teaching. Thus, this new channel of communication, with its share of technical glitches, often made hassles in communication or teaching for new users. Difficult, abstract, new or important message should always be communicated through regularly established channels, which are already familiar to the receiver and which can be easily handled by the sender as well. An efficient teacher, or a sender in this case, always explains an important concept or say a difficult concept more than once, often using different terms, sentences, and words in an attempt to make it more lucid and simple for the learners or receivers or audience to grasp. Though this mode of repetition may compromise on the brevity or conciseness of communication, it often helps in understanding the message better. Repetition with variation may be done for consistency in written communication. For example, you often find a textbook to be student-friendly if it explains difficult concepts and abstract terms, and they break it down and explain it over a few extra sentences in simple language, easy words, and with familiar examples. You must have heard of Shakespeare's Tempest. It's a very famous play. Many of you might have studied it at your +2 level as well. This particular text also features as a part of the postgraduate course syllabus in literature studies. However, as a teacher or a sender of communication, if you teach the PG students who happen to be the receiver or audience the same text at an elementary level as that of +2 students, you can hardly get proper feedback or a positive response. The class will be disinterested in your lecture as it's going to be too basic or elementary or childish for them, and the communication process will fail. Or say if you're a teacher of humanities or social sciences and you're teaching any sensitive topic, you must ensure that you approach the topic without any bias. Try not to impose your opinion on the audience or stir up a controversy. What happens is the actual message gets diluted in such cases. Empathize with the audience, exhibit interest in the receivers or end users, build a connection with the receiver, establish rapport with the clients, try to understand the needs of the customer, study the background and demands of your clients and buyers. This is how the center demonstrates consideration for the receiver during interaction for effective communication. This should be reflected in the words chosen, body language, tone, content, and audience-centered focus of the center. Conversely, the audience also must appreciate the limitations of the sender and the budget and the minor shortcomings of the product demonstrated by the sender or seller with active listening and feedback. Just as students, you're expected to cooperate when a new teacher comes to your class and not misbehave or cause trouble while teaching. A teacher is also expected to make a class of fresher students feel comfortable with the syllabus, examination system, and the rules and regulations of the college. Only such a considerate approach in speech, tone, and body language from both the ends will allow a smooth and effective flow of communication in any official context or otherwise. Most of the characteristics covered in this video have not been discussed in the last 3 videos. Audio texts with explanations are expected to make you examination ready with a quick recapitulation of the key points in crisp virtual notes. Moreover, it will help you to qualify examination with flying colors once you get a strong foothold in the theory of business communication. Plus, a sound knowledge of theory will give you a cutting edge over others to implement them at work and become an effective communicator. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to SB's Academy channel on YouTube for more such content. Follow SB's Academy's page on Facebook for SB's tips on grammar, vocabulary, and communication skills in English. Don't forget to like and share the content. Leave your views in the comments and let us know what else would you like us to cover here. Happy learning!